Wow, it feels like no time has passed. Okay, that was probably only funny to me because I just stopped recording my last video and hit record on the next video. Hi guys, my name is Mia Danae. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not, nice to see you again. Basically, if you recognize this hair and this outfit, it is because I am filming 2 videos in a row because I need to stack videos because this week is Christmas and I don't know when I'm actually going to be able to film or edit. We're locking in tonight. I actually don't really have anything planned for this video. I didn't have anything planned for the last video. I'm saying that like I have a plan at all, ever. I'm just hitting record and I just start talking until I'm like, that's been enough time. We can end it now. Today, I saw the most beautiful sunset. It was genuinely just so beautiful. I can't even describe it. I will insert a picture of it. And I saw Santa on a fire truck for the second time. This time it was an accident. Last time I deliberately went to find Santa because my neighbors, their children, wanted to see Santa. We all went and found Santa on the fire truck. I love children. I think that if I was gonna do any sort of job that was not in entertainment, it would definitely be probably like a teacher or something because children are just entertaining, and also I just love their perspective on the world. And I also just love the fact too that it's like, I don't care about being judged by a child, okay? Like, you know what I mean? I feel like in so many social interactions, it's so much like, oh my god, are they judging me? Or am I saying the right thing? Am I doing this? When you're talking to children, it's like, they're not going to remember this. Like, if I say something stupid, chances are they're not going to remember. Like, when a kid asks you, like, how something works or why something, you know, when kids go through their why phase, and you're like, you realize you don't know anything, and like you tell them like why something is, and you're kind of just like guessing, and it's probably wrong. And if you were talking to an adult, you might feel really stupid for that, but you're talking to a child, so it's like, okay, well, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. They don't know. The only job I've really had besides like doing social media is babysitting. I've babysat quite a few times in my life, but the problem with babysitting is a lot of times people will like gyp you with paying. So I don't do it that often anymore. I do it once in a while, like as a favor. Like last summer I was babysitting like almost every day, barely getting paid if I was getting paid, and it just got to a point where I was like, this is way too much work to constantly be getting effed over for my pay. Children are a lot of work, especially like toddlers. I was watching a toddler. I had to change his diaper to make sure that he was safe at all times, and like I take that seriously. Like, that's one thing about me. If I am babysitting your child, trust me, I am so anxious. I am not going to let them do anything remotely dangerous for a second. Like, they're not going to stand on a bucket. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, get off of that bucket right now because you could fall. I might be a little bit too much with that, but I'm just like, you know, you're watching someone else's kid too, and it's just like, you just want to make sure they're safe, obviously, and it's a lot of work, and like feeding them, obviously, and then just trying to get them to have fun. Sometimes it's really hard. I always feel like I want kids to know that they're heard, though. Like, that's one thing that I think is so important to me. Like, when a child comes up and, like, is talking to me, I want to give them my full attention, and I want to talk to them like they're a person. And I do. Because I just think that that's so important. They feel heard by an adult. That they feel understood. Even when sometimes I literally can't understand what they're saying. Like, I'll be like, I am so sorry. Can you please repeat that? But still, like, I want them to feel seen and heard, because I just think that's really important. You just never know what is going on in their life or how they're being treated at home or by people in their life, and it's just like one of my like morals, I guess. I don't know if it's a moral. It's just something I really believe in. I especially really believe into explaining things to children. Like, whenever I'm babysitting, or if I'm just like around a child and they were to ask me like, why can't I do this? I'm going to tell them why. I mean, I will put it in the most digestible terms for a child to understand, but I will tell them why, and I will keep it appropriate, obviously, too. Think that children get very confused when they are lied to and treated like they're incompetent. Like, For an example, if a child is like jumping on the couch and you're like, stop jumping on the couch, and they're like, why? And you're like, just because I said so, then the kid is so confused. Like, why can't I jump on the couch? If you told them, one, you could get hurt jumping on the couch. Do you want to get hurt? Do you want to have to go to the hospital? Do you have to go to the doctor? And two, you could break the couch. And the couch cost a lot of money. And if they don't understand how money works, then, I mean, that's a whole other conversation, I guess. You got to explain how money is earned and whatnot. But things like that, I think, are so important to do, because then you're not just disciplining a child with no explanation and leaving them just utterly confused what they did wrong, thinking that anything they do could be wrong and they don't know why, if that makes sense. Like, it will never bother me to take 2 seconds out of my day to explain something to a child. My little like neighbors, like, they're always like outside and they'll be like, hey man, I'm like, hi. And then if I'm like getting in my car or like walking to the mailbox or whatever, I'm outside with my dog, they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm outside with Styles. And they're like, why? I'll be like, because he wants to play. And they'll be like, why? And I'm like, because he's a dog and he has a lot of energy, you know? Why would it ever bother me to just take those like few seconds to explain something? Because they're genuinely curious. Some people act like kids are just like idiots on purpose. Like, and I don't mean that kids are idiots, but like, they're learning. They're still growing up. They're learning things. And if nobody explains things to them, then how are they supposed to learn them? Because then maybe next time I'm outside with my dog, they'll know why. Or maybe they'll ask again. And you know what? I don't mind explaining again. Oopsie daisy. My phone fell and it stopped recording. What else could we talk about? What's been on my mind? Oh, something I was talking about with my mom earlier. I actually wanted to talk about in a video. We're going to try to explain this. I'm going to try to explain this the best way I can. But I saw this TikTok the other day where this girl was talking about like authenticity in dating and all that. She was explaining how, like, you know, like the games. Don't act too interested. Don't be too available. Don't be this. Don't be that. When you're doing those things and they're unauthentic to who you are, to try to get someone to like you romantically, it's basically a form of manipulation. And eventually, one day, when you do get them, if you get them, you're not going to be able to keep up that charade. One day, the authentic version of yourself is going to come out. And at that point, they don't know that version of you. They might not like that version of you. And I guess the point is, why would you want to be with someone who doesn't like who you are? If you have to act uninterested, if you have to act like mean, if you have to do all these weird little things to get a person to like you, why would you want to be with them? Because that means they don't actually like you, who you are as a person. That's something I have been thinking about for a while. That video wasn't the first time those thoughts were brought up to me, but I did really like the way that this girl put them. I think for a long time I really did believe in playing all those games and how guys only want girls who are B-words and whatever. And, you know, that might be true for a lot of guys. Like, it might be. But at the end of the day, like, I am who I am, and I don't want to change who I am to get someone to want to be with me. If you don't like who I am, then how would we ever be in a relationship? To a certain extent, we all keep little parts of ourselves guarded and whatnot, even in friendships. If I think about it in the same regard as a friendship, I wouldn't have all these weird hang-ups and rules and regulations for myself. I would just like talk to the person, you know, like I just like talk to my friends. And I've been trying to approach things more like that. If my like, even down to things like this, like if my friend took 20 minutes to respond to my text but I saw the text that they sent immediately, I would reply immediately. I would not feel bad about that. So why would I feel bad about that when it comes to a guy? Why would that make me feel weird or desperate? Because the truth is, like, I know who I am at my core. I am not desperate. I think for the most part, I am pretty kind. I'm a kind person at my core. I get excited about things. I kind of have a big personality. Sometimes I feel like it doesn't always seem like it, but I do. And I don't want to hide that to make a guy like me. To be some fake version of myself who is like cold and heartless and uninterested and unavailable. That's not who I am. And I've tried it before and it felt so crappy. It made me feel like I didn't know who I was. And I mean, I don't know 100% who I am, and I think that this past year has been a real journey of figuring out who I am, and it's probably will be an ongoing journey. I know that I am not that person who is just cold and distant and uninterested, and I mean, for a time, I sort of felt that way because of being hurt by people, and I just felt that way in general, not just towards guys. Like who I actually am. Bubbly, I'm excited about things. I reply quickly when I'm on my phone when I can. That's just who I am. I'm done pretending to be someone else to try to get someone to like me. Because that sort of love, that sort of relationship, whatever, that's not sustainable. It's built on a lie. Like, okay, here's something to think about. You acting cold and distant and uninterested to get a guy to want to chase you, right, is the same as a guy love bombing you to get you into a relationship. It's manipulation. I mean, they're not exactly the same, but they're pretty close. Love bombing is often followed by abuse. Sometimes it's just followed by ghosting. And I'm not talking about the instances where love bombing is followed by abuse, but I'm talking about where love bombing is used to manipulate someone into a relationship, and acting like you're uninterested and don't have time, whatever, blah, 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 to get someone into a relationship is also manipulation. That's what I mean. I also saw something recently that said, like, people pleasing is, like, sort of manipulation. And that made me think. I was like, honestly, true. And as someone, like, I'm not trying to be, like, a self-proclaimed people pleaser, but I do, like, I genuinely have struggled with that a lot in my life, and having like a really hard time saying no to people and putting up boundaries and whatnot. But it's like, not only am I sacrificing myself, I'm manipulating those people into liking me by doing things that I don't want to do. And if those people aren't going to like me because I don't do those things, then why would I want them in my life? No, though, like, speaking of love bombing is, like, it's so manipulative, and it's so weird and awful, and I hate that people do that, and I hate that so many people have fallen into that trap, and I feel so sorry, especially in instances where that's led to abuse, whether that's mentally, physically, whatever. I had a guy over the summer who was trying to love bomb me. It genuinely made me so uncomfortable. At first, it started out like we were just like chatting, and I was like, oh, he's like really cool, like we have a lot in common, like super cool. And then we texted all day the next day. Like, it was all day. And honestly, I didn't have anything else going on, so I was like, okay, sweet. And then the next day, and he was literally on vacation at one point. He literally left, got on a plane. The only time he like stopped texting me was when he was on the plane and like asleep. He was in Disney World, mind you. I guess too, he would take a break texting while he was on roller coasters. That was about it. He wanted to know what I was doing like every second of every day, and it just was exhausting. And then the complimenting started, the over complimenting. Yeah, like, tell me I'm pretty. But it was excessive, to the point that I started to feel really uncomfortable. Please do not call me pretty one more time. And that is a crazy thing to say. But I was like, oh my god, like, please stop. Like, we literally only talked for 5 days, and it got like really weird and intense, and I was like, this is not like wrapped up into it. I was just like, I remember on the last day of us talking, I had like a full breakdown, and I was like, I just don't understand. Like, he is such a nice guy, but I feel like this like feeling, this weird feeling in the pit of my stomach, like it's so bad, like I want to puke every time he texts me, and I don't understand why. And then after I was away from that for a few days, I was like, oh, it was because he was love bombing me. He was manipulating me. That's why I felt that way. My intuition went crazy on that one. Shout out to her. And like, obviously I like compliments. Everyone likes compliments, but I like them in like a normal amount. I have a hard time. Okay, my friends, I could compliment my friends all day long. Guys, I do have a hard time complimenting. I don't know why. Like, I will think nice things about them a lot. I very rarely say it. It's so hard for me. I guess I'm trying to work on that. I don't know. There's not many words to use, like, to compliment men, like their looks. Handsome. Cute. You could just say they're good looking. I don't know. There's just not much. Like, when I'm talking about like a celebrity man, I'll be like, oh, like he's a gorgeous man, he's a beautiful man. But like, I wouldn't say that to like a guy I know in real life. Like, I wouldn't be like, you're beautiful. It just feels weird and awkward. I don't know why it's so hard for me to compliment men. But something about it, like, I literally did it today, and I had to sandwich it with something so unrelated because it made me so viscerally uncomfortable. And it was true. What I said was true. I really did think what I said, but it was just like so hard for me to actually say it that I had to like divert the subject immediately before he could even respond. We got pretty deep here. I liked what we talked about. So I think we're gonna wrap this one up here. If you enjoyed this video, first of all, I love you. Thank you. Please subscribe, like, and comment. I will see you guys next time. Bye.